We have some new vehicle inventory data, and we have some new insight into which vehicles are selling well versus which ones are piling up on dealership lots. So let's get into it. But first, in a somewhat unrelated note, I do feel like I need to mention Fisker Automotive. Fisker Automotive just this week, yesterday in fact, announced that they were filing for bankruptcy. Now, I don't think that the topic of Fisker filing for bankruptcy really warrants a new and standalone video, and the main reason for that is that I made a deep dive video about Fisker just a couple of months ago. And in that video, I talked about the new Fisker Ocean, the drama surrounding Fisker and Marques Brownlee, as well as their financial struggles and, at the time, a potential bailout. But since making that video, there really hasn't been any new information on Fisker except for the fact that they actually have gone ahead and pulled the trigger on filing for bankruptcy, which, if I'm being honest, isn't really something that should have surprised anyone who was actually paying attention to what was going on with Fisker. As of today, Fisker is looking to sell their assets, and let's just say I'm glad I don't own a Fisker Ocean, because they're going to be hard to offload. Now, back to vehicle inventory. According to Cox Automotive, while days supply has actually decreased month over month, the actual inventory volume at dealerships has increased. In April, there was 2.84 million units of inventory, which equates to a 76-day supply, while in the month of May, there was 2.89 million units of inventory, which equates to a 74-day supply. This is a whopping 55% increase from this time last year. Now, you may be wondering how unit volume can increase while day supply actually decreases, and that's because day supply is based off of not only the unit volume, but also the amount of sales that vehicles had for that 30-day period. According to reports, dealerships actually sold about 2% of the total 2024 inventory that's left. But because 2025 inventory has begun to roll in fact, about 3% growth in 2025 inventory alone, this has offset the volume that was sold of 2024 inventory, causing a surplus. Inventory aside, average vehicle listing price was up slightly from last month. Now, looking at the individual makes and models, there are a few brands that have seen some pretty major swings. While some brands are relatively unchanged, Toyota went from having 30-day supply in April to 31-day supply in May. Jeep had over 150 days of supply in April and has 147-day supply in May. And Lincoln had 144-day supply in April and had 145 in May. There are others that haven't had a steady month-over-month data. For example, Lexus saw quite a decline in inventory, going from 45-day supply in April to 37-day supply in May, which is a 17% decline. Kia went from 61 days to 53 days, which is a 13% decline. Land Rover went from 69 days supply to a 60-day supply, which was also a 13% decline, while Cadillac also declined by 13%. Buick and BMW both saw inventory declines of about 10%, while Acura saw a 20% decline, going from 75 days of inventory in April to 60 days in May. Volvo saw a whopping decline of 23%, declining from 121 days to 93 days. Even Dodge, an automaker with notoriously high inventory levels, saw an inventory decline of about 20% month over month. In fact, the majority of brands in this report saw inventory declines month over month, which you can see here. And the major swings that we saw in inventory were inventory declines, not inventory growth. Now, I mentioned earlier that the average vehicle listing price was $47,433, but the average new vehicle transaction price is actually $48,289. Which is down from all-time highs. It's also lower year over year by about 0.9% or $442, but it is also slightly up from a few months ago. But the silver lining here is that dealership incentives have reached the highest level that we've seen since May of 2021, with the average dealership incentive reaching 6.7% of average vehicle transaction price, which equates to about $3,200 in dealership incentives, which is quite a bit higher than where dealership incentives were a year ago, which was at about 4%, but it is still quite a bit lower than where we were at pre-pandemic. Now that we know which vehicles have the highest inventory and which ones have the lowest, now let's take a look at dealership incentives and discounts, and let's see how these individual vehicles are faring. And let's first take a look at the automaker with the lowest inventory out there, which is Toyota. And not only does Toyota have low inventory, but all things considered, they also have strong sales. On a manufacturer level, Toyota isn't offering a ton of great incentives. They are offering 4.75 to 5% financing rates on some new cars for up to 60 months, which, if I'm being honest, really isn't a great deal. Sure, it is below average for average financing rate, but it's probably only comparable to what you may be able to get with something like a credit union. Unless you want an electric car, because even Toyota isn't immune to the lowering demand for EVs. And Toyota's offering 0% financing for 72 months, which is a very good financing incentive, especially in this climate of record high interest rates. Toyota is also offering some strong 0% financing offers on 2023 and 2024 models, and they're also offering between $500 and $1,000 cash offers for certain qualified buyers. And if you look at new vehicles on platforms like cars.com, there are new cars with discounts typically under $2,000. And Toyota is still being non-transparent with their pricing, providing TSRP instead of MSRP. I give Toyota and their pricing incentives a rating of 3 out of 10. Could be better. Now let's look at BMW, which the only reason why I'm choosing this brand is because they're an automaker that is basically right at the average for total vehicle inventory of 72 days, where the average is 74 days. BMW has some pretty ridiculous leasing deals. While many are in the $500 per month range, many others are in the $1,300 per month range, which is just too high for a lease. But they do have pretty strong financing deals, anywhere from 2.99% to 3.99% depending on the car, which is a very strong rate for this market. Unlike Toyota or even Tesla, which is offering 0% financing on EVs, BMW is not, and they're offering 2.99%, which would be good for a gas car and is actually quite good compared to the overall car market, but for EVs specifically, it isn't really competitive. And like Toyota, BMW has a few other incentives like the college grad program as well as the military program, but they aren't really offering any manufacturer-wide rebates at this time. Now, when we look at BMWs on a dealership level, there aren't a ton that are offering discounts. And sure, that's better than above MSRP pricing, but it certainly is too high considering the fact that BMW has average inventory. I rank BMW's incentives a 1 out of 10, which I feel like may be a bit harsh, but truthfully, BMW has far too much inventory to not be offering any type of discount. And while some of their financing rates are competitive, others are simply not, and they really should be given the current market conditions. Now let's look at a brand on the opposite end of the inventory spectrum, and that is Jeep. Now, Jeep is technically not the highest inventory automaker, but they are one of the highest, and Jeep is consistently a high inventory player with 147 days of supply. Jeep is also, all things considered, a very popular vehicle, unlike Fiat, which is also a high inventory vehicle, but is significantly less popular. Jeep is offering a variety of different incentives for different cars, from 3.9% financing for 36 months to anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 cashback offers. And unlike many other automakers out there, many Jeep dealerships are clearly advertising on their website discounts outside of the manufacturer discounts that can range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 depending on the dealership, and they are clearly stating MSRP and how much the discount is playing into the MSRP, which is something that I really appreciate. And looking at cars.com, there are plenty of Jeeps for sale being marked down often. I give Jeep's discounts and incentives a 7 out of 10. While Jeep could have better incentives on a manufacturer level, on a dealership level, they have quite a lot of incentives, they are discounting cars, and they are offering transparent pricing. Now, one thing that I've noticed in researching for this video is that while discounts and inventory do oftentimes correlate with one another, one thing that I've found more oftentimes correlates is inventory and transparency in pricing. Toyota, Honda, and Lexus are all automakers with low inventory, and all of these automakers do not offer transparent pricing. Toyota has TSRP, Lexus is charging above MSRP under the preferred package guise, and with Honda, while some dealerships are offering some sort of small discount, other dealerships are actually ballsy enough to charge above MSRP under the guise of window tint and pro packages. When we get into higher inventory automakers like Lincoln, Jeep, Fiat, not only do these automakers clearly show MSRP, but they also show the dealer discount right on their website. Now, don't get it twisted, even in this car market, higher inventory does oftentimes equate to more discounts, and you absolutely should be keeping an eye on what the inventory levels of the car that you're looking to buy are, because this can give you some good expectations on what you can expect from a discount front. But also know that different brands approach discounts differently, and the type of car that you're buying is almost as important as the inventory that that car has. And don't assume that just because you're buying from an automaker with higher inventory, like BMW for example, that automatically means that you're going to get a discount, because more often than not, that isn't going to be the exact case. Instead, you should take inventory, all around discounts and incentives, as well as how long cars are sitting on dealership lots for, as a way to approach your negotiation tactic. Because at the end of the day, regardless of which which car you look to buy, you absolutely should be negotiating, and inventory can be a good tool to use whenever you're making those negotiations. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.